Hello. Were we all just on at the same time and just sitting there waiting?
Yeah.
So, I've just been on for like an hour, but I assumed it was Jay's fault since he's been on to be a
It's
dick.
always Jay's fault, Drew. That's the key. And I'm glad you jumped on board with that without me having to in any way antagonize that. That's what I've been telling all of our listeners this whole time. If something goes wrong, it's Jay's fault.
Drew,
I've been listening. I need to get my fix with brother talk.
Drew, here's the thing. It's like that. You're my get. You know, you wouldn't be on the ENC pod of Awesomeness if it wasn't for me. I'm the one that texted you, and you're already siding with Edge here, and that kind of hurts my feelings a little bit, man.
I don't know. I mean, like most people would say, "Hey, brother, could you come on the podcast?" It'll be around, midday. Jay, on the other hand, he likes to bring me on the podcast at 6:50 in the morning, but that's okay. I just appreciate getting on to catch up with you guys.
I was gonna say because I just saw you guys. I just saw you guys are on the West Coast, and I was like, wait, so it's like going to be 6:30 there for him? So thanks for doing the show.
I'm doing squats. That's all right.
Yeah. There you go. Doing some of those Hindu squats, those air squats.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 3 hours of Hindu squats and on hold for the past hour.
So how you been, man? It's been a long time since we chatted.
Oh, man, it's been too long. I've been fantastic. I don't even know where to begin. It's been a few years, but yeah, I think I've grown up a little bit since last time I've seen you. But I've been away from the WWE for about 3 years and kind of did my own thing. And thanks to everything I learned from being on the road with the guys like yourselves and the roster we had at the time, I was able to take all those lessons, apply them across the world, really build my name. And it was the right time to come back, and I'm back. And next week, myself and Bobby Roode are main eventing the biggest show of the year, TakeOver. Pretty crazy.
We were actually just talking about this, before you came on, and I kind of likened it to my situation when I left WWE for 3 years. That sometimes you have to bet on yourself to go out there and try to come back and be seen in a different light, or to go higher than you were the spot you were in before. Sometimes maybe get stuck in a rut, and that's just the way that things happen. Is that the way that you saw it, that you needed to kind of go to come back at some point to be better, or what were your feelings when you left?
I mean, I wasn't given the choice, but you and I had this conversation a few times.
Yeah.
Where you told me, the best thing would be, since you're just kind of spinning your wheels, if you went away and just kind of showed everybody what you can do. And I guess just getting signed when I was 21 from university, coming straight to America and growing up in the company, and you're in the bubble for so long, the idea of being outside was a little terrifying. But,
right.
Once I got that chance, that's when I was able to say, all right, it's time to shut up or shut up. This is the one thing I know. It's the only job I've had. And let's see if I can make something happen. And thankfully, I was able to apply everything that I did learn. It worked out that way. And like I say, I learned a lot. I grew a lot as a performer and a man. And now I'm back and ready to be back, in the timing's perfect for both sides.
That's one of the things that I was going to talk to you about, because you came in so young, and people don't understand all that entails, let alone if you're 31, but coming in at 21 years old and having, all of these things kind of thrust upon you, and it's what you want. Don't get me wrong. Everybody wants it, but getting it and dealing with it and coping with it, and everything that entails, whether that's making sure your taxes are paid quarterly, whether that's making sure all the bills are paid at home, whether that's, maintaining your relationships, all of that comes on board, let alone with what you just see on TV, and you get brought in and you're being called the chosen one and all of these things.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was just trying to figure out why on earth my laundry wasn't getting done anymore, and what these magical things were asking me for money called bills. It's like I was staying at my parents' house at university until I moved to America, and that's the first time I moved away from home, and I was like, man, my laundry doesn't magically wash itself anymore. What's going on here? Oh, also, what's a hard camera, somebody, since I work all four sides, brother?
brother.
Brother. So my wife hates you guys, since I grew up around you guys. And bloody, I talk this way, this brother, this brother, that. Just, where did you get this from? I was like, people I grew up around. You guys.
It's funny the stuff that you come up with to entertain yourself when you're on the road, and we'd all come up with this brother stuff and the lingo. And at one point too, I was dead set on bringing back the old school worker light handshake, and I was shaking everybody's hand like that backstage. And so I think that was a little thing for a little while too. I wonder if anybody's carried it on since I've been gone. But it'd be great if you brought it back if it hasn't.
I think I might just. I'd love to see people's expression whenever I do it, though. I don't think that. A lot of people are in on it. I just wonder what's going on. So, well, I thought Drew would have a lot different handshake for a guy that kicks the crap out of everybody.
Yeah, that's a bygone era now. Yeah, I work real light, and then there you go, clubbing everybody. Wait, so this is light?
Oh, this is my light, brother. This is the light.
You know, it's cool though. You know, just in terms. Even just in appearance, we're talking about, you know, growing up and maturing and getting away in order to do that. You even now, like before, your character kind of had the Hunter Hearst Helmsley, you know, that kind of, but a Scottish version, obviously, vibe to it. You came back now, and it's Braveheart. It's, okay, that dude has been through some fires now. And now I believe, okay, he smells like smoke, and I believe it because he came through it. So appearance-wise, work-wise, it looks like you really did mature just in every aspect. How do you feel? Like, do you feel like you gained some armor for this too?
100%. Just all the lessons, the ups and downs, everything I've been through and growing up in front of the world has really taught me to be a top guy, and I'm ready for that position. I'm ready for that responsibility. I've been the top guy for many companies, and it's everything I've been through that's got me to this point. And also everybody calls me sir, and he acts like this old dude when I'm basically the same age. I just turned 32 last month because I've been around so long. Everybody thinks I'm a late 40s, so I got some time, and like you say, you know, physically, you know, I've been working pretty hard and growing up a lot. And I watched myself back on tape, you know, not that long ago. I remember I was supposed to have a match. I had a match with Taker, but supposed to do something bigger with Taker. And I looked at myself and how I looked back then, and I was like, man, I would not believe that guy against that guy. And then I look at myself now, and I'm like, okay, I get it now. I saw like some people like Hunter and stuff, what they were telling me at the time. I see what they were saying and what they saw. I believe this guy, the guy I am currently, and also just mentally and everything all around. I'm just ready for that responsibility. It does, like you say, it takes a lot to be that guy. It's not just what you see on TV.
Yeah, I watched back, you know, last night a couple of the matches that you and I had, and you know, I just wanted to kind of freshen myself because, you know, I remembered that we work and everything. I remember I had fun. We had good chemistry. But then in watching it back and then seeing where you're at now and just the metamorphosis, like I said, not only from a character standpoint, but just from the physicality, you know, just the demeanor has completely changed. You know, I know what you were going for then and what we were both going for. We were trying to get you and I into an angle.
Yes.
And I was on board. I was ready to go. For whatever reason, they just didn't go with it. But I do see what you're saying. Like when you were aggressive and even in the Elimination Chamber, you were super aggressive that night, and it was great. It was one of those moments where I was like, yes, this is where he needs to be. But now with the physical presence and appearance on top of that, it just that wasn't going to be the case then because you were still a baby-faced young guy.
Yeah, I mean, like, I always appreciate the both of y'all looking out for me, trying to get things started. But as much as I would have loved to have that opportunity in those matches, like, again, I was just, I guess, like, trying too hard. Like, I just wasn't able to relax back then, is another thing. Like, as you know, like, once you finally relax, that's when things start clicking, and then people can feel that as well. And, you know, I just wasn't relaxed at all pretty much my whole first run, just on edge the whole time and trying too hard. And if I was trying to get something across, I was really trying to get it across rather than just relaxing and let it come across naturally. You know, that's one of the biggest things I've learned is just to bloody relax. And that's the difference between the guys at that level and the guys that don't make that level.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that because it reminds me of a story. I can't remember exactly where. I think it was somewhere in Illinois. You and I got to the arena and I was wrestling you on Superstars, and you hadn't been doing a lot at this point. You were kind of in flux as far as what you were doing, and so I get there and I think we ended up having like 15 or 16 minutes. We had some good time for TV, and like I said, it was on Superstars, and I remember I wasn't like the happiest guy in the world that I was on Superstars. So I was like, you know what, we're going to go out there and we're going to tear the house down and make it really hard for anybody to follow this match.
That's why I loved working with you.
And we went out there and I remember we went out there and we tore the house down. We had an amazing match, and I came back and Hunter was back there, and I said to him, hey, he's good. And he goes, no, he is good, but he needs to learn how to do that every night. So going back to kind of what you were saying there, you know, it was, you need, is that what you feel now, that you couldn't get yourself to that level, or you didn't understand what it took to get to that level where you could do that on that stage in a match like that every single night, but it's kind of that way now?
Yeah, for sure. Like when having someone like yourself, I'm going to have to say something nice about Jim. Like that was some of my favorite matches I've had. I really, really learned a lot. And the fact you were so fired up really, fired me up as well. Mm. And I never tried, but sometimes, like I say, the fact I would try in the wrong way, and just wasn't clicking. And just this opportunity that I had to be away is when really things started clicking. And then suddenly, when it came to each match, I was just relaxed. I looked at the situation. Oh, what's the story for this match? Okay, this guy does this. This guy looks like this. And I was able just to piece it together easy. And now it comes naturally without even trying. And like I say, back then, I had a leader like you, but when I was the leader, I was just over trying and not getting the right story each time, and being able to tell it in a short amount of time. Like these days, maybe 5-6 minutes, I can tell the adequate story. Back then, I would try and shove 6 billion things in the match nonsensically, rather than trying to get across the best advertisement for the segment.
Right. The key thing you mentioned, man, is just relaxing, and when you're relaxed out there, everything flows out better. Even when things are supposed to be frenetic and intense and, off the rails, if inside, this is the way it's supposed to be, and you're leading that, that train, and you're relaxed inside, it's all going to work. I remember it was a SummerSlam match, and I think it was Nexus against Team WWE or whatever. And I remember Bray, who at that point was Husky Harris, and he had me in the corner, and he was doing this thing, and he was just like all fired up. And I looked up and I was like, "You better breathe, kid." Huh?
Yeah.
You better breathe, kid. And he was like, "Huh? Oh yeah. Oh, okay." And he stopped and took a breath, because it can, if you let it pull you, man, you're gonna forget, and then all of a sudden, I haven't taken a breath for a minute while I'm running spots. And that
I did that a lot.
Dangerous place.
Like I remember incidents of just blowing myself up or just getting too excitable. Like I remember one time in SmackDown, and I know your troubles now actually, of when you would do the spear and you would want to get to the corner and then get your moment and get the crowd up. The guys would feed up too quick, and I fed up too quick one time. And these days I do my Claymore kicks on the corner, and I do a little stamp routine, and I do kind of similar to your gimmick to get the crowd fired up. When I see people feeding up too early, I just think of that moment when I get up too early for you. So because I was just not relaxed at all.
So then do you go over and yell at them the way that Ed yelled at you?
I never yelled in the ring like you, Jay. I'd always say in the back, "Hey, man, just milk that a little bit longer."
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, and that even is that kind of, it's that fine line, because if you take too long, then you can lose them too. Mm-hmm. So it's when you find that with someone, and it's like, oh, okay, they're turning at the perfect time. This is great, bam, and so you'll definitely encounter both when you do something like that. And I'm sure I stole it from Sean, so I'm sure he did too.
So, I've got the luxury of working with Sean at the moment.
How's that, by the way?
It's mental. It's
right?
Absolutely mental. If I've ever got a question, or if I'm unsure about something, I just ask Shawn Michaels, the best wrestler ever. But when I came in, I've been fortunate. Just I had a few opportunities that I could weigh up where I was going to go, and thanks to the past few years' work, and there just wasn't a choice. Once I spoke to Hunter, my mind was made up that he wanted to bring me on board for his baby, and I didn't technically have to go to the PC or any of that jazz, but I heard Shawn was going to start taking classes, and I was like, "Excuse me, can I go to Shawn Michaels' classes? And I don't have to come." And it's like, awesome. It feels like you're doing a PhD in wrestling. No matter how long you've wrestled, this is about my 17th year, whatever. You go in there, he explains things the way nobody's ever explained them before, because most people just don't know at that level. And you sit there and go, "Why didn't I know this? I'm really getting a PhD right now, and it's bloody awesome."
What's
also,
cool
the first
about
rule
that?
of Sean Club is don't talk about Sean Club. So I got to watch what I say.
Well, the thing with Sean too, what's great about it is you never know if someone that has reached that level, if they can translate it, or do they just do it out of instinct, and it's hard to explain that to someone or get that lesson across. But it sounds like he's getting it across to you guys, which is awesome.
Oh yeah, like everyone in there gets it. But when someone tells you for 17 years, just listen to the people, it's a very general term, and then listen to them, brother, and you get a feel for it just from experience. But when someone like him breaks it down to like just bits and pieces and explains why, it's like, wow. And I thought I'd figured this listening to people think out, and I felt like I was taking them on the ride, but when he really breaks it down and how much of a ride you can take them on, you're like, man, there's so much to be learned, and like this is pretty cool that my go-to guy is Shawn Michaels.
Well, I'm going to break a rule of Shawn Club here. He texted me the other day while I was flying back home, and he was like, hey, as a bigger baby face, what matches could I point people in the direction of how to sell with a as a bigger baby face, maybe with a smaller opponent or things like that. So I don't know who that was for.
I wonder who that could be about. I have no idea. I'm doing a giant wink down the phone.
So I told him Eddie, Kurt, Regal, and those were guys that were, very intense. So they made sure, a lot of that is dependent on the heel, obviously, because they keep you selling and working as a babyface. But, it's definitely, it can be an interesting thing as a babyface to stay aggressive but still sell. And I always found movement around the ring. If on your sell, as long as you moved, even if you weren't, getting bumped all the time, which seems to be a thing now, is so many bumps and less movement in between the bumps. That to me was always the key. That's one thing I loved. When Kurt and I worked, he was like, "Man, you just move so much for me without." You gotta sell, but you can still move. There's still a way to creatively do it.
Yeah, actively selling.
Yes,
Austin would be that. I don't know how Austin kept going. The way he would bloody be on the move all the time.
Taker was another guy too.
Oh,
Taker never stopped moving. Well.
He would be up on his feet kicking your ass.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And from a realism standpoint too, you think about like, if you have a guy down and you're working, especially if it's a bigger guy, and you finally chop the big guy down, why would you pick him up again? If you had him down in a prone position, you would get what you get until that person drags himself up or gets somewhere else where you have to.
Anytime anyone grabs my hair to pick me up, like during the bloody heat, I smack their hands away. That's what you need to do, pick me up. But he's throwing me into a buckle, and I'm slid with my boots on. Got those lifts, brother. I'm 6'7", 260. Why you just pick me up?
Yeah, that's a perfect use of brother right there. I got my list, brother.
Oh dear! Like I don't know how much swearing I'm allowed to do. So many other J-isms that. So I've got to watch. What I say. I need to write a sign on the wall saying, "Remember, you're in WWE again. Watch what you say."
Yeah, we can get away with the swearing if you don't want to. We get it.
Yeah,
we've had completely PG shows, and then we've had some where we just say rotten things we're going to do to each other, and
I enjoy those parts.
Bad places.
Enjoyed the singing as well. Like Jay was singing "Back to Good" in the UK, and I brought it up to Darren yesterday. Rico, he was like, "Oh yes, Jay."
And I was just pissed because I didn't know what song it was, and I wanted so badly to join in the song, and I couldn't. I didn't know it because I don't know my Britpop. Evidently,
I thought in Canada they were pretty big. Like most of the UK Britpop seem to have made it over to Canada. Even S Club 7 and the likes, I guess, were big in Canada but never made it to America.
I was just on the road at that point, so I was probably just had the same things over and over jammed into my ears.
Did you guys know that there ain't no party like an S Club party? Because an S Club party don't stop.
No party like an S Club party. I tried to work that into a promo recently, like an NXT somewhere. It was the UK during the UK tour. Yeah. And I think the EY actually was one of them I was telling. I was like, I'm going to work this in somehow. Like I thought there was no party like an S Club party, but NXT is the biggest party. That's great. Nobody knowing except a few bloody older people, the same age people.
I saw your promo last night in LA, which I really dug. And I even said at the beginning, like the Scottish fire-breathing dragon. I was like, oh, that's good.
I have no idea where that came from. That was
but it's a great visual though, and it's cool. Like Corbin's doing the wolf thing. You're a fire-breathing dragon. I like it.
Thank you. I may actually use that now that you've brought it up. It literally came out of my mouth. They just asked me, "Can you go out and kind of chase Bobby away and do a promo?" And you can see me if you saw the footage of it. I didn't really have much to say. I was saying, "Bobby, come here," and he just went through the curtain and went, "Okay, then I guess I'll just deliver this message. I know you can hear me," and just kind of ad-libbed it. And it just came out. And I get myself fired up for the go home. I learned it since his promo class back in the day. That strong go home, and then just kept ranting, and that Scottish fire breathing dragon just came out my mouth out of nowhere, and I felt back, and Nicky Starr, my fellow Scot, was just "Oh, I'm a fire breathing dragon."
But that's when the best stuff comes out a lot of the time. Austin created the what thing on an answering machine, on Jay's answering machine.
Yeah.
You never know where that stuff's going to come from. And then Jay said the next week, you heard him go, "What?" And they're still doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, they're still doing it 100%. I feel so bad sometimes when they really start laying it on people. I would run on sentences. I'll do whatever to cut. I don't get it that bad, I guess, but sometimes it can be brutal if people are clearly reciting their words line for line. Again, it's relaxing. If not relaxing the ring, that was a struggle. When it came to promos back in the day, I was just like Captain Wooden and trying to remember my words, and clearly in my eyes, I was trying to remember my words. These days, I'm very comfortable.
That's the key with promos. I've always said it has to sound conversational, and there's going to be ums and uhs and just weird little those little crutch words that you fall to when you're trying to think of something, and that has to go into your promos because it's natural and it's normal. That's the way people talk, and if you do that, there isn't those long pregnant pauses for the what's. Because people, like you said, know you're reciting a script that's been handed to you by some little dude,
100%.
Yeah. And for future reference also, if you want to get Bobby to stay somewhere, you need to get his attention, just go, Bubby, 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 Bubby.
I may break that out. We might actually be working later. So maybe I'll just break that out randomly without telling him.
Bubby, Bubby, Bubby.
Just to get his reaction. Bubby, Bubby, Bubby. Tommy, Tommy, Tommy.
Yeah, it could become a Tommy type thing. Bobby, 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 Bobby.
Yeah.
Speaking of Tommy, actually, I need to give him a little shout out since he's always on the show. We got the big show in Brooklyn next week. Well, one of my moments when I first kind of came back on the scene, I went to Scotland, did my mission statement promo that really got some attention. And Mick Foley spoke out on Austin's podcast and really helped me out. But one of the first kind of matches I had that really helped me kickstart who I was and what it was about was against Tommy in Brooklyn.
Oh, wow.
We had an old school ECW style battle. Most of it was on the fly, and afterwards, Tommy got on the mic and really put me over, and it really helped me out a lot and kind of motivated me. Because at the time, I was a little bit down, motivated but a little bit down. And Tommy really got some people talking about me at the time, and I really appreciate that. So Tommy's there for the boys, brother.
Tommy he's one of the most giving guys in this industry. Probably to his detriment at sometimes, if that can be said. But he just. If there's someone that needs something, Tommy is going to be there to give it. And whether it's motivation for you and selling and helping you, get back to a point where you get your, get out of the doldrums a little bit, that's the kind of guy he is. And he can, and he probably doesn't even know he's doing it, but he can just sense when somebody needs something. I've always said he's our version of Dusty in that he just, he has a way with people too.
100%, and that's a privilege been around Dusty as well, for a couple of years, and he's the reason I can talk at all is from the lessons I learned from Dusty, and Tommy's just always been there helping as much as he could. But that night in Brooklyn really is something that kick-started me. So big shout out to Tommy.
Tommy.
Yeah, kind of backing up again anyway, and for a second too. When you left WWE, and sometimes that can be deflating, and especially when you're released. Can kind of take the steam out of people and kind of maybe feel sorry for themselves for a little bit. You didn't seem to have that, because you and I had a couple conversations afterwards, and it seemed to motivate you even more. And I remember you saying you were just going to go out on the road and be a pro wrestler, and you were going to be out there as much as you could. And it seemed like you were legit on the road a lot. That was your goal. Tell us a little bit about that and what your schedule was like when you were kind of in the middle of that whole your run there.
The schedule, I don't think it's ever been done before. I know people like the Bucks, whatever, go back and forth to Japan all the time. But during the past 3-year period, I do not know how my bloody wife put up with it. She was still with me because I was never home. I was legitimately the busiest wrestler in the world, and every single week I was jumping across America or jumping across the UK. I was in the UK at least minimum every 3 weeks, just back and forth and back and forth. And like for an example, just like a weekend, this wasn't irregular. I went to Germany, a place called WXW for a tournament, the biggest tournament in Europe, the 16 karat gold, and I wrestled on the Friday there in Germany. I had to leave on the Saturday to wrestle in Scotland where the tournament was going on, and so I had to do 2 matches on Sunday to make up for it. I got back to Germany at 6 a.m. with zero sleep back and forth. Then a fan fest, did the first match for like 30 minutes, did the second match for about 20 minutes, finished the show, came back to my room, had to leave 3 hours to Amsterdam, airport, no sleep again. They got stuck in traffic. They were so disorganized, and I missed my flight. So I was there trying to figure out my flight. I spent about $3,000 of my own money to make this flight, to make it back. So I was doing Impact TV. And I just made it there like 4 p.m. after all this shenanigans. Like literally touched down in Tampa, got a car, drove to Orlando, walked in. They called me in an office, and that was the night they were like, all right, you're winning the world title tonight. And I just done all that travel, and I looked at them and went, cool, man. I thought you'd be a bit more happy. I'll be very happy at the time. Just a little bit.
I'll be happy when I wake up.
Yeah, just feeling it a little bit. That wasn't uncommon, but like you say, I was just so motivated to push myself, show everybody what I could do. I had a clear vision in my head. I spoke to a couple of guys when I was gone as well, and they told me the usual protocol, like you go out, you do your WWE gimmick, you make X amount, eventually the money will go down, and you'll find the money you stay at. I heard that and was like, no, that's not me. Like I'm going out to go up the way, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And through the power of social media, I can take everyone on this journey. Right. And that's thankfully what I was able to do. And it was non-stop. It was fantastic. I really learned a lot about myself. And it might not mean a lot to much people, but it means something to me when I was number 300 and something in PWI, brother, when I left WWE. And last year, I was joined 10 with John Cena. And like myself, Jay Lethal, and Okada were the only non-WWE guys like in the top 10. So it meant something to me, brother, after all the hard work, seeing something like that.
Well, it isn't, like you said, with social media, it really, it can keep eyeballs on you. And it's not like you're not even on the radar anymore, which is kind of the way it used to be if you pre-internet and pre-social media. So, I was able to follow what you were doing. I was like, okay, cool. He didn't put his tail between his legs. And you may have had that moment, don't get me wrong, when it first happened, but it didn't appear that you did that. You said, okay, dust myself off, got to pick myself up, set my shoulders, set my chin, dust myself off, and keep walking. And it really appeared that that's what you did. And as we've talked already, used it as a learning experience to get you back where you want to be. And I knowing you, I don't think you're even where you want to be yet. I think you're just starting to scratch the surface.
Oh, 100%. I take everything like short-term goals is kind of how I do it these days. But like my long-term goals are completely unlimited. Like if I'm not joining you in that Hall of Fame one day, then I've not done like what I planned to do when I was a kid. I've got some big aspirations and big matches, and I'm just getting started right now. And I'm excited to be part of the NXT. That's where I wanted to be. That's where Hunter wanted me to be. I was working on like 6 companies before trying to help build them, and was able to build them, and felt like I really made a difference in the wrestling scene and bringing the UK level up. And now I've got my one focus is NXT. It's cool to try and see what we can do because we've got such a talented roster, and just getting it up there as high as we can, and then when the time's right, I'll go and do the next stage.
When you were started the dialogue to come back to WWE, was there any talk of you moving to either Raw or SmackDown? Was it NXT right off the hop?
No, like I had a clear picture in my head what it would be. Like I say, there was like a situation where I had a couple of offers. I really had to weigh up. My wife and I had to weigh up. And then I had friends with Regal. Obviously, I was keeping contact, and he'd mentioned Hunter would like to speak to me. And we had that conversation in my head. I was like, I'm unsure to see what's going on. But once I spoke to him for that 30 minutes, I could see like he was thinking the same way as me. Like you come in, let's see what you're doing, which meant the world to me, and wanting to bring you in as a player, which again, that's his baby, really meant a lot. Yeah. And I've gone off a little off topic here, but so he mentioned that he sees me in NXT and kind of rebuilding myself, and that's exactly the vision I had in my head. Because I don't assume everybody follows the indies or follows my Twitter and knows what I'm about these days. So to get that opportunity to rebuild, get myself up that level, help the NXT brand hopefully, and then whatever happens next happens next. First and foremost, I'd like people to stop saying moving up. for the NXT because
Yeah.
it's such a fantastic brand. Like my goal when I first came in, I said like during the Superstar shake-up, I'd like transfers between the brands. And
Yeah,
I think
it's more
that's
like-
probably going to happen at the next one because
Yeah,
you know,
it's more
it's not the platform of a Raw and SmackDown, but it really has the talent. It really is a fantastic show. It really deserves more than moving up, because I hate that term.
Yeah, rather than being seen as a feeder system.
Right. And
Yeah,
I think
exactly. Because it's not. It's like its own unique brand with its own unique fans. Like bloody anyone that comes to the show can feel that. Mr. Belding, for example, came last night. He was the first time he'd been there, and he was like, "Wow, this is really different. It's a different feel to it, like a cool underground kind of feel to it, and all the characters and just how hard everybody works. It really deserves more." And like I'd say to the guys and girls on the roster, stop saying moving up. Like it's what the perception, like Vince would always say, is what matters. I understand, like you're working hard on the PC, etc. And maybe one day you want that run SmackDown schedule / pay. But what you put out is how people see it. So put it out as when you're here, this is the number one brand, nothing else matters. And it really has that chance to be like seen as one of the top brands in the world if we just stop that moving up perception.
I had gone to the I'd never been to an NXT show, and I went to the one in Orlando, which unbeknownst to me, they brought Beth and I out to watch the Revival match, I think it was, and is it Aleister Black and Cien Almas. So we were out there for that. Had a great time. Loved the atmosphere and everything. It was really fun. You know, I was totally jet lagged because I just got off a plane from Ireland, but I got excited in watching the match. I was like, man, I haven't been out in an audience like this in, I don't know, like 25 years. And sitting there watching it, being that close to it, but not having to take the bumps, it was so much fun. And you could tell the enthusiasm, not only that the performers had, but that the audience had. It was really a different vibe, and maybe it's just because I haven't been in the audience in a while. But then I go backstage and I look out, and you're sitting in the same seats. I went, "Whoa, Drew's back! All right,
Scottish,
cool."
steal your seats.
You pilfered our seats, man.
Adam and Beth left, brother. I'm going to steal his seat.
he was in the 10th row when he saw it open. He's like, brother, I'm taking it.
I was like, oh yeah, man, I want that front row seat, brother. But yeah, that day was the craziest day. Was one of the craziest days ever. Only a few people actually knew that I was coming in. The decision was made.
So tell us how that works. Because I didn't even know you were there until we got backstage, and then they showed you. And
I wasn't there.
Okay.
Like I was there when I was there on screen, pretty much. Yeah, like everything had been decided by that point. You know, I'd made my decisions, we'd made our deal, and I'd done the proper tests, etc. It was just a matter of when I was coming in. I was finishing off my independent days, had to drop a couple of titles and finish off some business.
Brother.
And brother. And on the Saturday, it was my busiest day. During Mania weekend, Evolve will have shows. The What Culture title shows. We've got the WrestleCon show, the WrestleCon signings. And that particular day was my longest day. I had a signing at 8 a.m. Then I had a show. Then I had a radio interview for Busted Open. Then I had the big Evolve show for the new title they'd made that night. And I was contacted during the day saying tonight's the night, by the way. And I was like, whoa, I got a busy ass day today. We got to figure something out. So, like,
by the way,
thankfully, Gabe Sapolsky runs Evolve, and we're close, and he's got a good relationship with WWE. He's still there working with NXT actually. And they were able to figure something out where I come out in the first segment. I was doing the heel shtick at the time, said my piece. A guy called Keith Lee, who's doing awesome, came out, crushed me, ran to the back. This was like, what was it? It's 8 o'clock roundabout, and I raced to the car because the show started late. Like ran past everybody, jumped in my car, drove to the Amway, which in WrestleMania traffic, as you know, is bloody terrible.
Yep.
Orlando traffic's terrible anyway. So I get to the Amway, my missus is waiting there. The wife's there with the suit that she had to drive back to Tampa to get. She jumps in the car. We fly in the back. Kristen Altman's there to race us to talent relations. I'm half in the shower, half out. She's trying to dress me and brush my hair. And they're like, all right, Drew, you'll be up in about 10. I'm like, okay. So I'm throwing on my clothes. And then they're racing me straight to the seat. And I literally got to the seat, didn't even consider what was happening until I sat in that seat, relaxed for a second, and thought, oh, my God. I hope they make some noise. Like, even if they boo, as long as they make something noise.
Just not
the worst
apathy.
thing you can have in wrestling is just nothing. Thankfully they did. I was a big smile on my face with legitimate reaction. Because it did not occur to me, like, oh my God, what if they've been following me? Do they know what I'm about? Do they remember me? Once I heard the response, it was a pretty cool feeling.
That's every performer's fear, right? That they're not going to react. like as a wrestler, like, you know, even if you're off for, you know, 2 or 3 months and you're at the curtain, you're about to go back out, you're like, man, I hope they make some noise. I hope they react. They don't.
Yeah.
It's the worst feeling
Like even
ever.
some, I don't care if they boo me. Like, like Reigns is the top good guy, gets that reaction, gets everybody into it, you know, they feel it. But as long as they're making some kind of bloody noise, the kiss of death is silence.
That's the death knell for a wrestler. So, but what's great about that day is you're so busy. You didn't even have a chance to think about it until you actually sat down. So, okay, let's say you're 22 and all of that happened. How would you deal with it differently than you did this time with the kind of day and schedule that was and the pressure?
I would be a lot more wound up. Of course, I was a lot more cocky back then, so I'd probably just assume, oh, they're going to explode, brother, when they see me. But I would be like, not so good mentally like, during the day. I don't know if I could have dealt with it. And then after the fact, rather than these days, you know, like I've had my crazy days. I've experienced them, and there is the experiences. I tell my wife all the time, like I'm the most bored guy in the road, and I didn't used to be the most bored guy in the road. I'd probably have a crazy night out after, which doesn't really happen anymore. I'm the most bored 32-year-old ever these days, which is also probably a positive because I used to be the opposite back in the day, brother.
But I mean, and again, that goes back to you're 21 years old, you're on the road, you're on TV, you're famous within the industry, and that's a lot, and that's one of those responsibilities that I talked about, and being able to deal with everything that can come along with that, and that can be partying after the show. So you're married, you're happy, and that is so essential too, you know, to being a foundation to keep all the plates spinning, all the plates up in the air.
Well, I think too, in tell me if I'm wrong, Drew, but in your case, you know, you come in at that young age, kind of put into what looks like it's going to be a predominant position, you know, being called the chosen one and these sorts of things. And you like you said, you're kind of young, kind of cocky, thinking, hey, this is the way it's going to be my entire career. And I don't want to say get complacent, but you just think this is the way it is. And then
I just assumed that was normal. Like I was the fastest ever guy on TV. I came to America, landed in OVW for the last 6 months, and they just needed a body in the ring. The writers were there who came like once a year, twice a year to OVW, and they just needed somebody to roll around with one of their heels. They were new kids, just jump in there, and they had me roll around, and they had me cut a promo. And then the following week, I got a call when Howard Finkel used to do the call, telling me I was coming on the road. And I was just like, all right, this is normal. This is just what happens. And then I talked to Paul Burchill, who told me it's not the case. Like Paul was like, no, Drew, this is not normal. This is why everybody suddenly hates you. Okay, brother. But so like, I was just going with the flow, just assuming it's normal. I used to have MySpace back then, because I was at university 3 weeks before that, you know, watching wrestling on TV, drinking with the lads, and then I was on SmackDown 3 weeks later, pretty much. Like, it was maybe 3.5 weeks later, I was on TV, and my MySpace requests exploded. I was like, man, I'm so popular, brother. Never put two and two together. I'm millions on TV or whatever, and just, this is normal, brother. And just like going with the flow and just thinking, you know, what's normal, what's not normal. That was the good thing about getting away as well. You kind of get a perspective, what's normal, what's not normal, because you grow up in the bubble, like, you know, you get a different idea of what's normal and not normal, for sure.
Yeah,
the wife had to smack me in the head a couple of times to drink, but you can't act like that in public or say that in public.
Yeah,
it's one of those things, you get desensitized, you know, and especially if it happens for you that fast. You know, I think, you know, Randy was another guy that was kind of thrust in that position as a young guy, and kind of the world's at your fingertips, and it can be such a slippery, precarious place to be. You know, it's where you want to be. Like I said, don't get me wrong, but there's just so much that is involved with that you know, if you're not careful, it can just, you know, a snowball becomes an avalanche.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like NXT helps that as well these days. Just it's a more seamless transition. People going to get to, you know, get that experience on TV, but they're also part of the, you know, majority are part of the PC, and they kind of learn what's going on. They get that, you know, little practice at first. Of course, it's not the same being on Raw, you know, and SmackDown in that travel schedule, but, you know, you go from there to the same character and similar people you've known already. And back in the day, you know, it was just come over. I was plopped in America. Here you go, plopped on the road. With you sitting in catering, seeing you guys, and like, you know, Taker and Vince walking around, and you know, crapping my pants, not knowing anybody. Mm-hmm. And then I go to FCW. Then they bring me up as a different character, and then you're restarting again. I think the way they have it now, the way Hunter has it with the NXT, makes a big difference. Just to relaxing, getting to learn those things, and they're taught those things as well, so they don't, make the same mistakes as people back in the day did because they didn't have a system like NXT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because I've always said they should have a class to help people with the transition in, and a class to help transition people out of the industry. So just to get ready for life and how different it will be after the fact, and have one to let people know, okay, this is roughly what you can expect. So just be prepared for all of these things that are going to be brand new to you, and have someone, I don't know who, but someone just to kind of help get the feet wet. But it sounds like NXT is kind of doing that, like you said, in terms of you're getting your character flashed out, you're getting on the road, you're getting in front of big audiences and learning to work TV and being on TV with the network. So you're already getting accustomed to the fact that people are going to recognize you and want things from you and things like that.
Well, I think too, what's important, like you're saying about the NXT being able to flesh out the character-driven stuff, it's hard sometimes to do that on Raw and SmackDown because it moves so fast, the week to week, and sometimes you just don't have the luxury of if something's not kind of catching on, and even just a couple weeks, sometimes things change real quick. But it seems that it's a little bit more at a slower pace, in a good sense, on NXT for both guys and girls to be able to kind of figure out their character and what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, 100%. That's a huge, huge difference maker. And I know how fast it moves. There's so many hours and hours and hours of unique TV, and the last thing they're thinking about. That's why I never drive myself crazy and was never bitter about anything, because I understand that, and I understand the world doesn't revolve around Drew, because it's happening with a bunch of people just because of the nature of the company. And that's why I knew NXT is the perfect place. Hopefully, I can help the brand, but also I'll be able to reestablish myself with the kind of pace and that's traditionally done in wrestling, rather than the super fast pace of a Raw and SmackDown and the 16 other shows.
I think is cool too is that we've seen a lot of guys like Bobby Roode or Nakamura, Finn Balor, guys that were established names in other places that came to NXT first, and that was cool. But I think that it's interesting that you were a WWE superstar, SmackDown, Raw, both shows, and you came back to NXT, and I think that's a pretty cool thing too, and says something about the NXT product and where it's headed. Right. And I think it gives some real credibility, like you said, not just be seen as a place to move up from, it's more of a place to move over from, if, like you said, more like a talent transfer. So I think if I'm not mistaken, you're maybe the first guy to do that, right?
As far as I'm aware, yeah. It's just, it's pretty crazy, like you say, pretty cool at the same time. I was the WWE guy, and then went away, like you say, and kind of reinvented myself, and took everything I took and helped. The UK seemed to people to learn to get up to that level, to get up to that TV level when the time was right, coming back as a former tag champion, as a former intercontinental champion. But also, as a man, as a WWE guy, in the end I was gone, but I was always a WWE guy, and it was pretty cool. Okay, Drew's been out doing this away from home, and he's grown up. He's finally left the nest. Now he's coming home, and that's how I feel, and how hopefully people feel as well. Because I was a IC champion 7-8 years ago. It's people have grown up, a different generation. People talk to me as I say, an old man. These kids had your ringtone when I was a kid and stuff. And it's pretty cool just having everybody kind of watch me grow up in front of them and still being young enough that I can hopefully give to the business for another 10 years at least. I'd say maybe 20.
Well, that was one of the things that. Jay and I kind of encountered that too, and I think the Hardys as well, in that we started so young that by the time, I was working like Kofi Kingston's or, let's say, Cena's or CM Punk's, those guys are around the same age as me. But I was looked at as this veteran who's been there because I'd, been there for 10 years. It just ended up, that's the way it worked out time frame wise. So it's interesting when people essentially the same age as you are going, man, okay, hey, sir. It's like, wait, I'm only 2 years older than you,
That's the thing. You learn, you had the chance to learn from, both y'all, some of the greatest ever. And when I was younger, I'd be pushing all the time to try and get in with you guys, like this. Now I'd always say, not in a nasty way, but these guys aren't going to be here soon. Who are we going to learn from? In the future, I've got to get in there with them. I've got to learn because I'm going to be here for a long time, and I didn't take for granted any opportunity I got to work with you. And there's one thing being told, but being in there with somebody. I remember I worked Ricky Steamboat. He had 5 matches when he came back. With Jericho, whatever. But I had a couple with him, and just getting chances like that, and just listening to the way he called matches, and he talks the way he talks in real life in the ring. He's like, you hear that, Drew? You hear them coming up? Now what I want you to do is slowly come up, and then you listen to them. I'm going to take you back down. Just like so calm the way he's calling stuff, and just having that learning process, and like having Finlay put me with Finlay when I first came from FCW because I was maybe too aggressive and beating the crap out of everyone to kind of tone me down. But the idea of working with a fit Finlay, to get me where I need to be aggression-wise and getting to work with you guys, like it really taught me a lot. And when you look at the business today, how few guys are there that have been through through everything y'all have been through and have that experience. Like there isn't much left anymore, and it makes it a lot more difficult to learn with each other than getting an opportunity to get in the ring with you guys. And I was so fortunate I did have that opportunity. And now that I think back, the things that I didn't get back then, a lot of things come back to me that I go, I get that now, which is pretty cool.
Well, good that you kept track of that. But I see and you hear that, and I go, okay, well, you're going to have a leg up in terms of, when I look at some of the NXT guys that come over, not up, but come over, and I see Nakamura, I see Sammy and some of these guys, and some of it is booking, obviously, but I see there's a little bit of a struggle to transition to the different aspects of live TV, the different aspects of, now Vince is the one calling the shots. And there's a lot of different elements that go into Raw and now SmackDown being live too. And you can see a transition period for a lot of talents. But you've already been there. You know what all of that entails. You know the inner workings and how that works and how things can change. And you're not going to have that much time to put a match together, so you're going to have to call a lot on the fly. And it seems like because of that experience, even though, we've talked about you being young at that point, that experience is going to come in so handy when you do make the switch over to those shows.
Yeah, I even feel it right now. Like even with the NXT, I just feel like everything I've learned and the way I react to situations and how easy things kind of come now. I feel it, like you say, when I go through SmackDown, like I am ready for every situation that's possibly thrown at me. I am ready to be in Gorilla and turn around and go, all right, you had 6 fat, you've got 3 now, and just easy to be able to, figure out what we're going to do. So, I'm very grateful for, the experience I've had, and it's just one of the many things in my journey that's got me to where I'm at now. And the thing is, no matter what happened, up or down, or how terrible, it all led me to where I'm at now. And, I'm feeling pretty lucky.
Yeah. So as far as this match, and those are, they said those are all character building things that you went through. And they said to kind of make you the performer you are now, and helps you realize that getting there and staying there are two different things, and that's kind of always the fire under your feet, so to speak. That no matter how high you get, that's there, and it can be gone at any minute. So
that's a good shirt, Bird. Fire under your feet, man.
I like it.
Look at you.
Ooh, man, I'm actually due a shirt. I'm just going to steal it and text them and say, hey, for Brooklyn, fire under my feet shirt. Because I do like the running kick.
Fire under your feet. The fire-breathing Scottish dragon. Fire under your feet.
Fire under my feet. Thanks, Jack.
Okay, guys, that's all I got now. I'm out of here.
I'm going to be the dick.
No.
Steal it.
But you and Bobby should tear it down. Bobby's awesome. He's so good in the ring, and I just think that you guys are a little bit different style, but that works. For me, I always enjoy watching those types of matches. What do you expect for this match that the fans can enjoy in NXT TakeOver Brooklyn?
First off, Bobby is unreal. I've had the chance to get in a couple of times with him, and just when it comes to timing, and his timing makes my timing and selling a lot easier, because that man knows exactly what he's doing, which is fantastic. But when it comes to the Brooklyn match, the way I look at it, everything I've went through in the journey everyone's been on with me, this is my opportunity, this is the platform that I've been envisioned in my head for the past few years. Like I always picture things in my head, like how I'm going to get there, what I'm going to do, and I used to do it when I was a kid, and I used to say I'm going to go be signed by WWE, and no one from Scotland had done it. Then I did it. If I set a goal in my head, I usually get there, and I envisioned being on the big show at TakeOver, getting the big match, and this is the opportunity with the perfect opponent. We'll have the right amount of time, and whatever anyone's watched me doing, whatever matches anyone's seen me do, I guarantee this is going to top everything, and Bobby and I are going to pull out stuff, we've maybe never seen from both of us, and I guarantee a spectacle, 100% beyond guarantee, an absolute spectacle. I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome, man.
It's
We are too.
the crowd's gonna be insane. It's always fun to watch those shows and see what everybody kind of brings to the table for those.
The whole card is awesome as well. Like that's the thing. You get such driven people around you, such motivated people around you, and you can't not be fired up. The whole card is so strong in all the takeovers. You know, like the goal is there's a show the next day, and we don't want that show to be able to top us. That's why that friendly competition is healthy for everyone.
I think too, and it sounds like this is something you've learned too, is you can be a motivating force in the locker room and a motivating positive force. And that is one of the things that I learned in order to be a leader with that company is that you can be a positive influence and a positive, like, okay, you can be like that guy, and that's the template that I want to use when I get to the top. You know what I mean? That is so key. Like, you know, I would always look at Taker and go, look at the way he conducts himself. Mm-hmm. All right. That guy is a leader of this locker room. You don't see negativity. You don't see he goes out and he busts his ass and he works hard and helps people and kind of pays it back. And I always found that was such a huge thing because I've seen the opposite of that too. And that to me is not. It's a cancerous kind of vibe in the locker room, and you see guys that weren't like that, but when they get to the top, get like that, and that's lame, you know. And I think we can all think of people like that, but the real ones that stick it out and stay there, don't take their ball and go home. Those are the guys that are there for a reason. The work ethic and just a mentality. And it sounds like with everything you've been through, that when you do get there, that's the mentality you're going to have.
Yeah, and that's something I take pride in whenever I can help anybody or help better this business. And that's something I don't take for granted. And like you say, like watching somebody like Taker, when I first came in, like it was clear this is the guy that runs the shows, cool as a cucumber, and he'll watch every damn match, no matter like when he's on or whatever pain he's in. He'll be on that monitor watching, and then you'll see him kind of like limp around, like, man, what is it going to be like when he gets out there? Is he okay? And then as soon as he gets out there, the light goes on, and you wouldn't know if there's anything going on. And works his arse off, and then he's always there to give advice that I didn't get at the time, which drove me crazy. But now I get, like, don't play a bloody wrestler, be a wrestler. And I'll be like, I don't understand. I'm out there wrestling. What are you talking about? Finally clicked one day, and I was like, oh my God, I get it. All these things Taker was telling me. But like especially now when I see the younger guys, and I can see that look in their eyes, and like they're motivated, they want to learn, and any way I can help them and help the company, that's a really good feeling, as you both know.
Yeah.
Well, I think you have more media you got to do this morning to help the company. So we'll let you go and do that, man. Appreciate you getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was, West Coast time, to do this for us, man. It was good. Good talking to you too.
It's good to catch up. Like, this is more of a catch up for me. Like, I tell the company all the time, like, I genuinely enjoy the media stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's, like, I'm a weirdo, like, it's because no one else seems to want to do it except Cena. So I was like, just think of me as your Cena. I genuinely enjoy, like, talking about wrestling. I never shut up about it. People wouldn't cut me off or throw me off, like, right now.
Like I just did.
Yeah, exactly.
You got other interviews, man. You got to go.
Right now, I'm talked to really right through the next ones. But no, I like, this is fun because we're, like, catching up with y'all and, reliving the old times is pretty cool, and hopefully see you all soon. Actually, Jay, I'll hopefully be seeing you in bloody Tampa next week.
Yeah, we're gonna have some dinner. We're gonna catch up. It's been too long, but hey, man, I just want to say, really, really proud of you, and I mean that the journey you've taken and to get back to where you're at, and I think it's inspirational. And I think it'd be a model for a lot of guys and girls in the business that the hard work never stops. So, congratulations.
I really appreciate that, buddy. And it's if I can touch somebody and motivate somebody, then I've done my job.
Awesome.
Good deal. All right, man. We'll knock them dead at TakeOver, and we'll see you soon, man.
Absolutely. And take care, guys. It was good catching up.
See you, brother.
All right. See you, Drew.
Brother.
Good to catch up with Drew.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that he said that I think could also be on a T-shirt, but don't play a wrestler, be a wrestler.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
really, really good advice.
Yeah, and that's the best advice. And he, like I brought up in the interview with him. I remember him talking with him shortly after he'd been released, and he said, I'm going on the road. I'm going to be a wrestler. And he had every intention. Like I said, he didn't be like, oh man, it sucks I got fired. What am I going to do now? No, he made a career. Like he made his career.
He didn't go sit at home, eat bonbons, become a big fat, like, I used to wrestle or weekend warrior, working in an armory and taking Polaroids in the ring after. He went out and busted his ass, clearly stayed in shape, revamped himself, repackaged the character, learned, took all of these life lessons, the road lessons, and took them to heart.
Yeah, he didn't go and just be the Drew McIntyre that you just saw in the 3-man band and, take the show on the road. He reinvented himself, said, no, I'm going to be a top guy, and I'm going to be a top guy everywhere I go around the world until I get back to WWE and prove that I'm a top guy there. And that was the right mindset, and he was motivated, and it paid off for him, man. And you can tell he loves the business. He loves what he does. And that happens a lot for guys that are true fans of wrestling from childhood. And when you have that mindset of this is all I want to do and there's nothing else for me, that's motivating, man. And I think I'm really, really proud of him that he's taken this journey.
Well, I always liked Drew. I always liked the fact that his ears and eyes were wide open, and he's grown up. But I think what you said there, and I want to bring this back, think of the 3-man band. Mm-hmm. That is a testament.
Right.
If there is any other testament to the idea that perseverance in this business, stick-to-itiveness, as they say, or chutzpah, as Vince would say, it just slug through it like you did. Go somewhere else. Get a fresh start. Get fresh eyes. Get fresh legs. And come back and look at them now. Heath is plugging away
too, right? I mean, you learn something
Heath never left. But Heath never left. He's plugging away. He's still having fun. He's still kicking ass. He reinvented himself with this, kids character and everything. Him and Rhino teaming, fun stuff. Always entertaining. Never a bad match. Mm-hmm. Jinder is now the WWE heavyweight champion.
Right.
Think about that metamorphosis, that transformation, whatever reasons there are, India market opening, who cares?
Yeah.
He is the heavyweight champion. The same lineage that Bruno held. He was in 3-man band with Heath Slater and Drew McIntyre, who is now back on NXT, kicking ass, realizing all of the things that he learned, taking them on, putting them in his tool belt.
Right.
And now he's headlining the NXT pay-per-view the night before SummerSlam. It'll be sold out in Brooklyn. The place will be going nuts. And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Right. Well,
because of I'm getting fired up, Birdman.
No, but you gotta
Drew fired me up, man. Drew fired me up.
Well, I just want to say, kind of touch on something you said.
One more match.
You're talking about the 3MB stuff. And those sorts, and where all the guys are now, and it's true. It's not failing when things like that, not just in wrestling but in life. It's
no such thing as mistakes. I've always taken that mentality. Yeah, there's no such thing as mistakes.
Yeah, it's only failing if you quit.
Yeah,
right.
It's only a mistake if you quit.
Right. So it's kudos to all those guys, and especially to Drew to do the things that he's done and where he's at now. And man, it's a real. I don't know. I'm kind of speechless because I just thought that it was real inspirational the way that he looked at it and where he's at now.
It's interesting. You have, and I know I say that term a lot. Well, it's interesting, but it is. Damn it! You have these guys like David Crosby from Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and the bassist from Kings of Leon, and they make these random, for no apparent reason whatsoever, kind of derogatory comments about wrestling, about WWE and its fans. Right. And there's so much that can be learned about not only, how to tell a story, because that's what it is. It's live theater, and thankfully now Hollywood and productions are understanding that and learning that, but there's still that, this elitist attitude, that somehow wrestling is a redheaded stepchild. But there's so many lessons that can be learned if you're not a douche and don't look down your nose at it, like David Crosby, who hasn't produced anything good since Neil Young left him. It's look at this story, this real life story, let alone just the character story of what Drew McIntyre has done, of what Jinder has done, of what Heath has done. and the ride that they have taken in order to get to where they are. And as I said, I don't think there's no such thing as a mistake. And if you don't learn from it,
right,
then it's a mistake. But if you can take something from it, and there's always something to take from what is perceived as a mistake or a misstep or falling flat in your face, whatever, there's always something to take. There's always a kernel. You just got to knock the shit off to find that kernel or that nugget of wisdom and go, okay, then it's not a mistake because I now have this in my vest to take forward. And that's my rant of the day.
Oh, it's a pretty good rant. I'm
going
to give you kudos on that one. Yeah.
And that's one thing I've learned too is, man, wrestling fans, not just WWE fans, but wrestling fans are so loyal to a fault. They will pick apart the product, but they support it. And when anybody else tries to pick it apart, man, oh man, I saw this David Crosby thing, and I saw the responses like, "Oh, dude is getting roasted, just ravaged." I'm sure he doesn't give a crap,
how about
but
the
still,
fact that he didn't even know it wasn't WWF anymore? I mean, that
right?
just shows you right there.
It's like, come on, man, you go take another acid tab.
Probably is.
Go talk about Joni Mitchell albums. Like, come on. Or the Kings of Leon dude then apologized. He got roasted too, and then he was like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I was joking." Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah, and all you need to do is point at a guy like Dwayne to go, "Yeah, see."
Or Dave, yeah.
Dave,
look at the stuff John Cena's doing now. I mean,
yeah,
it's insane. Look at me. Look at me.
Look at you.
Huh?
Look at you, Bird.
Here I'm acting.
You're up there. You're Moon Dukes McGee. You're you're plugging away with your 1905 accent up there. Yeah. You're chucking knucks. You're throwing bones. You're ready, man.
Yeah, I put a pretty sweet picture on Twitter with the way my hair is styled for it. It's pretty awesome. Big part in the middle. I just need the alfalfa thing at the back. Sick.
I'll be Spanky.
Yeah. And look at you. You're on Vikings. I mean, come on, man.
One thing I will say with the Vikings thing, that was, like you with this, it's interesting because it's an accent, it's a period piece. That's a different, beast. And
different
it's been so much fun.
Yeah.
And there still is a little bit of that, I don't know where you got your drama chops from. Was it from WWE? There's always that question,
right?
When you kind of blow the doors off of something with a performance and people are still a little bit like shocked.
Yeah, and WWE is actually is the perfect training ground for all walks of entertainment. It really is, and we've said that before. Other people have said it, and it's the truth. It's and that's why it's nice now to see, all the guys that we've just talked about that are branching out and proving, and making it so people realize that like you said, wrestling isn't redheaded stepchild. It's legit entertainment, and
being proud of that too. Being proud of that as a performer, going, "Yep, that's where I got my chops from." Mm-hmm. It taught me everything, and it taught me live. Yeah. So, anyone who looks down their nose at that, go try it live with a live mic and no cues, and then try and hit a time. Good luck with that. So, yep. There's my rant for the day. There's officially over there. I'm calmed back down. But see what the yerba mate does to me, man?
The yerba mate.
It says on it, it says "come to life," and I feel like I've come to life, brother. Guayaki organic brand yerba mate enlightenment. Here we go.
All right.
Here we go.
That being said, Edge, I hate to cut this short, but somebody on this podcast has to go to set to work.
Well, I mean, me and Mega Mac can continue on, but sure, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll cut it off because you got to get hashtag set life.
Yeah, set life, brother. You got to do it.
All right, brother. See ya.
See ya, hosers. Here we go.
Tummy, 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 Tommy.